Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, Dave.
It's great to be here today. Today is Auditor's Day. This is the second Sunday of September every year, and so it's kind of appropriate because I'm going to talk about the future of Scientology. And the future of Scientology, just like the past, except it got a little bit off the rails, you could say. But the future of Scientology is all about auditing. It's the subject has only ever been about auditors and auditing. That was what Dianetics, the modern science of mental health, introduced a new science, a new subject called auditing, and a new skill set. So really, that's the first point I would make. The future, if you're wondering, okay, what's the future of Scientology? Well, it's all about auditing. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. We've got two Scientologies, though, to talk about. Because when I say Scientology, I'm thinking one thing, which is the subject, the people, the ability to learn more about life and so forth. But 90% of the people that are watching this, when they hear Scientology, they're thinking about the Church of Scientology, this corporate entity that, has really absconded with the brand. But so we got to make a distinction between the subject, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second after I talk about the church, the corporate fake Scientology. So one is real Scientology and the other is a criminal organization, really. But the first point I should make is the future of Scientology is probably standing right here in front of you. What I mean is, Scientologists in the church are not allowed to speak out to the press, do a YouTube video, talk about Scientology openly and in public. Now, you say, well, okay, but you kind of take it for granted. I mean, I'm here, I'm talking, what's the big deal? Well, there's a price to pay for this, for my willingness to talk out, which has been, I've been declared a suppressive person after 40-some years in the church, cut off from friends that I had for many, many years. They tried to get at my family, but weren't successful. So there is a price to pay just for the simple act of speaking about Scientology. But the future of Scientology is more and more people will do just this and say what's on their mind, think freely, act freely, speak and talk, and exercise their First Amendment rights to talk about whatever they want to talk about. We can't even take that for granted, though. You might say, well, okay, that's a big difference between Scientologists in the church and somebody who's out, and it's not a problem. Well, it is a problem because they follow current events. Just this past week, China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, Afghanistan all got together on a symposium on how to shut down the internet, free flow of internet, free speech. Same thing in the United States. I mean, I'm not going to go on a long dissertation here, but the NSA spying, they're trying to figure out ways how to shut down the internet, basically, and freedom of speech. So we can't take it for granted. If we're Scientologists, we can speak out that our constitutional rights are going to be there forever. So Scientologists have to take the lead and be involved in that whole free speech movement, and I think that's our future as well. Now, as far as the corporate church, we got this Church of Scientology entity that people think of. I mean, when the news media wants to know what Scientology's reaction is to the latest scandal and reports, they call up, the corporate church to ask for a response, and of course they get, denials and nothing. No, there's nothing going on. Nothing happened here. So that's who the news media is dealing with. And when they're talking to the Church of Scientology, that's the way it's going to be for some time to come, as long as David Miscavige is running it. Now, the future of that organization is, with him at the helm, is very limited. I can guarantee you for a fact that, whether it's a week, a month, 6 months, a year, whatever, his house of cards is going to come tumbling down sooner or later. And at that point, the corporate church, what most people call Scientology, is going to go through a rapid and, I don't know whether it's a week, a month, 6 months, a year, whatever. His house of cards is going to come tumbling down sooner or later. And at that point, the corporate church, what most people call Scientology, is going to go through a rapid and, I don't know whether it's a week, a month, 6 months, a year, whatever. His house of cards is going to come tumbling down sooner or later. And at that point, the corporate church, what most people call Scientology, is going to go through a rapid and, I don't know whether it's a week, a month, 6 months, a year, whatever. His house of cards is going to come tumbling down sooner or later. And at that point, the corporate church, what most people call Scientology, is going to go through a rapid and, I don't know whether it's a week, a month, 6 months, a year, whatever. His house of cards is going to come tumbling down sooner or later. And at that point, the corporate church, what most people call Scientology, pretty violent, or not physical violence, but violent and turmoil internally with all the people associated with. It's going to be very chaotic, very confusing, because people that have been in the church for years and years, and people have worked in the church, it's going to be very upsetting for them to find out all of a sudden that they've been lied to, that their church has been hijacked, it's been basically defrauding people, and so forth. So that's going to be a period of upset and chaos that'll last, probably the full cycle will take about 10 years. But once David Miscavige leaves, there's going to be an immediate, and here's a tip for any entrepreneurs out there, if you're watching this and you want a business tip, you can figure out some usage for those panels. In the ideal orgs, they set up these panels that show videos to people. You come in and you're supposed to watch this video, then you step over there and watch that video, and you go down this like assembly line. It's like really what an implant station is, runs people through these series of videos to give them their program for how they're supposed to act. Well, the day after David Miscavige goes to wherever he's going to go, South America, he's going to go behind bars, he's going to go, I don't know, who knows, but there's going to be a fire sale on those panels. So if you can think of a good use for those panels, you get your truck and back it up to any local ideal org that you can find, and I'll bet they'll sell them for pennies on the dollar. You can make some fast cash and converting those. So that's one aspect of the future. The other is, of course, some of you probably recently saw that Marty Rathbun filed a suit against the Church of Scientology. Now, these former executives and a lot of other people are going to do the same thing. They're going to file suits against the corporate church. And a lot of people have been legitimately harmed, and they have justifiable suits. But the ambulance-chasing legal profession is going to come out of droves, and so that's going to be a growth industry for, the legal profession. They're going to be able to feast. It's going to be like chum in the water, if you've ever seen the shark feeding frenzies. Anyway, so that's going to be very tumultuous, and there'll be strategies the church will figure out to handle those suits and so forth, but it's going to be a legal mess for quite some time. Long term, I hate to break it, because there are people watching this video right now who are just like, L. Ron Hubbard, Scientology's got to be destroyed, Well, I got some bad news. I know it doesn't include anybody here, but bad news for you guys. The Church of Scientology will not be completely wiped out. It will go on, and it will morph into a decent corporate citizen. And one thing that I see and I foresee, with my psychic powers, but they've got a lot of real estate, and which is well known. That real estate is hard to replicate in the field, and I'm going to talk about, like I said, the field Scientologists in a minute. So those properties could be converted into training centers, and as I mentioned in the beginning, what the world needs more than anything, as far as I'm concerned, is more auditors. So that corporate entity could convert and repurpose itself to really, honestly, for the first time, in many, many years, making auditors. And that would be a great service to us all, because it's very hard to do out in the field, to put together the resources, the real estate, the course rooms, and the instructors, and all that sort of thing. But that's the history, or that's the future, as far as I'm concerned, of the corporate entity. Now, the Sea Organization, which I know everybody is familiar with and heard of, I can't see how that can possibly survive this. I can't imagine me or most people I know ever taking orders from a Sea Org member again, or respecting them. And once they find out that their leader was a total criminal, been ripping them off, and they've spent their lives devoted to this pursuit that was based on a lot of false premises, they're going to be asking out, and there's going to be a whole recovery operation that's needed to help them bridge the gap from Sea Org life to, civilian life, you could say. So lots of people are going to be needed to help with that, and it's to be a good mission. I foresee that the management of the corporate church would have to go to a secular management, and if the Sea Org does maintain some status, it'd be a minor role doing something like whatever, archiving the technology or whatever, But I can't foresee that after this debacle gets exploded and exposed, that the Sea Org will be, still the management entity of that corporate entity. Now, let's talk about real Scientology, which is, like I said in the beginning, the subject of Scientology, the people who have used it, the people who are, interested in it, and so forth. Well, the future for us is looking pretty good. It's taken a while to sort of come out from the shadows and the threat of retaliation from this corporate monstrosity that, will attack people and send private investigators after them and, all kinds of legal things. Well, a lot of people are coming up out of the woodwork. They're putting up websites. They're starting groups. I mean, we got one just down in Georgia. We've got them over in Israel, in Europe, in Russia, in Switzerland, in California. I mean, they're popping up all over the place. People are going, hey, let's get some auditing. Let's do something with this. So that's what I see will continue to happen and will snowball, especially after the corporate church implodes. I mean, here's another entrepreneurial tip for young entrepreneurs. If you want a career or a profession that is unlimited growth, because it involves virtually every single person on this planet, get trained or dust off your auditing skills and get into session, because not only are there going to be thousands of existing church members who are going to be looking around and say, hey, now that I know that was all messed up, where can I get some auditing? So it's definitely going to go gangbusters. And if you are interested in training, find somebody who's a veteran auditor, find somehow, some way to get a hold of the materials and learn how to audit. And, it's a very worthwhile activity, obviously. Now, I'm sort of going to wrap this up, except I'm going to say one thing about the next talk is going to be on the subject of what is Scientology. Now, you say, well, why is he talking about that? Well, it's a question that I have seen asked for 40 years, and every spokesman who answers it on TV or in front of the media or whatever has answered it wrong. They don't know how to answer that question. There's reasons for that, because they've got another agenda. They're protecting the church. So they have to answer it in a certain way that colors the church in a positive way. And that was a good thing back, 40, 50 years ago, but then it's been abused of late. So anyway, nobody's answered the question. And the other thing that we see is these ex-Sea Org executives, or these people that were in the Sea Org their entire life. So they go on a radio talk show or something, and somebody says, well, what is Scientology? And their only experience was with the Sea organization. They were in a cult. Everything is colored by that experience, and they don't know how to answer the question properly. So anyway, my next talk, stay tuned, you're going to have to watch this channel, will be the answer to the question for the first time, other than L. Ron Hubbard, of course, answers the question over and over again in his books and lectures and so forth. But for the first time on YouTube, I'll endeavor to answer the question properly. But just to wrap up the future of Scientology, and a lot of people won't like this answer because it's too simplistic and it's too obvious. But the real answer to what's the future of Scientology is, well, what are you going to do with it? The future of Scientology is whatever you do with it. If you don't want to do anything with it, that's fine. that's your future of Scientology. You know, if you want to get up every day and attack the current Church of Scientology and do your blogs and do your videos and, you know, expose all this corruption, well, that's your future with Scientology right there. You know, if you want to get some auditing, if you want to learn a little bit about the subject, that's your future. Whatever it is that you want to do with it, you're free to do with it or not do with it. You know, it's out there. It's kind of like life. You know, how you live it is up to you. So I know that's not a very satisfactory answer. Everybody wants to know, well, when is David Miscavige going to be gone? Or what is, you know, there is no hard and fast answer except, like I said in the beginning, he will be gone sooner or a little bit later. Not much later, I don't think. But what we do is up to us, you know, and we don't have to be hindered by that. We don't have to care about that. I don't look at the blogs and all that information all that much because it's going to work. It's going to churn its way through the world and the history books kind of on its own, you know, inertia. So I say if you want to make something or learn something about Scientology, read a book. You know, get together with some people, figure out how you can get yourself in session or learn how to audit. And that's your future of Scientology. Thank you very much.